All right. This is You Can't Make This Shit Up. Your host, Joel Hawksley on the right, David Washington on your left. And we are talking about Byron Donalds, Congressman Byron Donalds. The Florida GOP has had its share of scandals recently. Boy, have they. Tea Partier and Governor prospect Byron Donalds has a criminal history of his own. Republicans like to lecture the rest of us about virtue, values, and consequences. In 2024, does having the criminal background matter? Let's go. Joel.
Well, he's you did say it right there, Congressman Byron Donalds, right?
Yes.
Okay, so then I just answered the question.
There you go.
It's very easy.
Yes.
It's very easy. Listen, a young black child growing up and having a criminal record is different than a just some of these other crimes that we're talking about.
Well, let's clarify. He wasn't a child.
No,
He was an
I'm
adult.
saying I understand that. So I'm
Okay.
saying being brought up is everything. Where do you live? What kind of places? If he was so if Byron was raised in Kansas, right, versus New York, there's a difference. And I'm not trying. I'm trying to clarify. Like, there is a difference, right? I mean, if you're in Kansas, there's a difference there too. Do you live in the city? Do you live in the rural area? Growing up is different everywhere. And this was, hey, he needed to make a buck. He needed to, he needed to do certain things. I mean, those were life choices that he made. But do we have a chance to forgiveness? In the Republican Party, we talk about forgiveness all the time, which I don't. That's a whole conversation in itself
Sure.
right now, our hypocrisy. But I don't see anybody with a criminal record, depending on what the crime is,
Sure.
being totally eliminated from the process. As long as you can stand by your story and tell you why it happened or what you learned from the mistake.
Mm-hmm.
I,
And I bring up this particular subject with Byron Donalds, Congressman Donalds, and this particular subject is because recently I was listening to a podcast that I follow called The Run-In, where Byron Donalds was interviewed, and he spoke about being raised in New York City and how everyone was hustling. And I understood what he was talking about. And, everyone, trying to make a dollar, make ends meet, so forth and so on, be, you know, as me and my friends kind of joke, ghetto entrepreneurs in a way. And we say that lovingly. And hearing his story about his upbringing and how he identify with the free market system and capitalism and becoming a Republican and espousing those values. And you and I talked about this, and that at one point I did not like politically did not like
oh wait.
Congressman Daniels.
Let me tell this thing.
Okay.
I met Congressman Donalds when he was candidate. When I was working with Vina Francois, who was running for office, and I really liked him, and I was very impressed with him, and I was kind of like really excited to talk to you about him. And I said, "Hey, uh, I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was like Byron Donalds," and you went, "Ugh, I can't stand that man," right? And you like lighting him up, and I'm like, "But you don't know. I mean, he's so nice. He's down to earth. I mean, he really understands people." And I'm having this, and you're looking at me like, "He's horrible. The things he says," and it was totally political. But
Yes.
now I think you still hate his politics, but you now realize, you know, hey, he might be that. He might be a
I
good
like the
guy.
man.
The man's great.
I disagree with his politics. However, I like the man and would love the opportunity to meet him and talk. I think he is a bright star for the Republican Party, and I like the fact that he spoke about his experience. He spoke publicly about the charges that were against him, and it did not define him. And he is a better person because of all of his experience. And I think he's a model for young black men, and I wanted to highlight that. Again, I see him as a viable candidate for governor of Florida. I will love to see a Byron Donalds for Florida governor campaign. um, and I give respect and due to those individuals who, although may politically be opposite of where I stand and what I believe is good for our country. However, this is politics. I understand. But as far as he as an individual, I respect him, and I like what I see so far. And it's my personal growth and understanding how he grew to be a black conservative. Let me pull back how he grew to be a conservative.
I look. I'm picturing right now Matt Gaetz and Byron Donalds. In a gubernatorial race, and I'm like, they're both they both bring so much of their personality
Mhm.
into their politics. One is calm, very meticulous, and the other is like hyperactive, like to the ADHD kind of. Just the total difference with the two. I'm excited. You just made me excited because I just like seeing these two people go head to head would
Mhm.
be
We're calling it
phenomenal.
right here
Yeah.
in the
Let's see.
primary. Donald's gets Gates. And again, I'm glad that in the podcast and in the subsequent posts on X that this was brought to my attention. I did not follow his congressional campaign that deeply.
Well, there was
So
nothing to follow. Once he won his
it
primary,
was
I mean,
over,
it
right?
was
It was
over.
over,
I mean,
right?
this is an area where I really wish I had watched his primary because I would have known more about him. But I'd met him after his primary.
Mm.
It's because he was able to actually go around the state and help other candidates because it's one of those places where I do have to go back and campaign, but it's pretty sure that the Republicans never lost.
And I like the fact that he pushed back against DeSantis on some of these cultural war issues. And I think that was the beginning of me beginning to understand the congressman and respecting him more politically and not just as an individual. And so, and this is what we talked about before about the Republican Party broadening its appeal to a larger demographic. It's people like Byron who um, want the party to grow, who want to make it more attractive to more Black people, more Hispanic people, more people of color, more people with diverse backgrounds. And Byron Donalds, Congressman Byron Donalds, is the future of the Republican Party or part of that future of the Republican Party.
Well, just like when Boston Boston Mayor Wu said it's great to see over the decade how the diversity has grown. I'm going to kind of agree that the diversity inside the Republican Party, not in our actual caucuses and our meeting places, right? But
Right,
the
right.
growing demographics is exciting because I see more blacks, understanding what the Republican Party stands for when it comes to the economics. I see more Hispanics understanding that it's our economics that really drives the party, and then they can get into a place where they are welcome. They're welcome on an even playing field. They're not just in a checked box is how I put it.
I had an epiphany as you were talking about Mayor Michelle Wu of Boston and this whole party for electeds of color that she had several Wednesdays ago. And I'm thinking of Condoleezza Rice, of General Colin Powell, um, of Byron Donalds, and also the announcement by, I think, the congressional, yes, the congressional Republicans in the election of another woman of color,
Mhm.
and just talking about the diversity and celebrating the accomplishment, and then saying, okay, let's get about the business
So
of the
so
people. I
so let's
don't
talk about Ben
see
Carson also.
oh, thank
Look,
you. Yeah,
Ben
Ben
Carson,
Carson. Yeah.
a brain surgeon. I mean,
Right.
listen, we have had the diversity. Now it's just the diversity, the diverse people that are stepping up and actually taking a place in leadership is amazing.
Right. And being the child, not a child of the 80s, because I was born in the 60s. But however, I did not see this by the Republican Party during the Bush administration. Oh, Colin Powell, look, we have Colin Powell. Oh, we have Condoleezza Rice. It wasn't this over the top, and maybe social media was not as grandiose as it is now, but I did not see this over celebration
But
of their blackness,
no,
of what separated.
it's their accomplishments that we really love.
I
Because
must
look
say,
at, I when I was talking to you earlier, Colin Powell was celebrated for being the first ROTC cadet to be the Joint Chief of Staff. I mean, that's the difference. And man, Condoleezza Rice, her musician, she's a musician. Yeah, she's a pianist from, like, just absolutely beautiful music that she
yeah,
creates. She's smart. She's an educator. She she fell in love with politics, and
right.
she didn't even want to.
How many
So
languages she speaks?
she just wanted to be a musician, and then all of a sudden she becomes this big political person. She becomes the Secretary of State. Um, I just, we celebrate her for who she is.
Hmm.
Um, but I don't think we really try to focus on race. But when you look at when you do get a chance to look at some of our success stories, they're really successful. And even if you want to take Clarence Thomas and destroy him for, you know, this, this newest you know, revelation that he took money and stuff like that, it's the fact that he went through the process and what he had to go through to get there. It's tough.
I did on, I think that, yes, it was the David Washington show. I talked about Clarence and Jenny Thomas, and did a little bit of a deep dive on the PBS Frontline expose on Justice Thomas, and I'm still conflicted with Justice Thomas. The conflict is one, the, of course, his Senate hearing for being nominated to the Supreme Court. He lied. He lied. That that hurts. Second was his struggle with being an affirmative action hire, or not hire, but um, um, student at Harvard, and I'm conflicted on that part because um, it seemed like he was, and maybe this isn't the right term, but hopefully you all get it in comment, please, that he kind of bit the hand that fed him. You know, the law, the policy helped him maybe get into Harvard. I think it helped many people at that time to break down those barriers, identify those barriers, and remove those barriers so that schools like Harvard will be penalized for ignoring applicants like Clarence Thomas at that time. I believe Clarence was more than qualified to attend Harvard. And so I'm kind of conflicted in that part of his history. Um, I enjoy the fact that he once admired the Black Panther Party at one point. However, again, that his Senate hearing testimony, it bothers me.
Well, I mean, he's never been prosecuted for perjury before Congress, so
Right.
I'm not going to say that he lied to Congress. As
No, no, no,
it,
no. He lied to the committee. He lied to the American people.
okay, well, that's a
He
different
wasn't forthright with the
that's a different
full truth.
conversation. I watched his hearings very closely
I
because it's the first time I learned about all kinds of things that I didn't know about.
yes, yes.
I mean,
I rewatched it.
it was like,
Yes,
hey,
but
and the way
hindsight is
and the way
2020.
and the way and the way he sat there, and his demeanor was, I was totally captivated by how he
Staged.
listen. That's a lot of pressure now. And even growing up, I'm kind of going, and Anita, I feel for her too. Like it was a very tough hearing. And I just want to remind you that Joe Biden voted yes.
I know.
And that's my final word. Thank you very much, David. I appreciate it because I got a good dig in. But, hey, listen, um, love the show. Love the fact that, there's so much content because you can't make this shit up.
Can't.
Again, as David always says, like, share, subscribe, keep yourself in the know. Get our newsletter. David's done an incredible job
Oh,
with
yeah.
the talent that he brings in, and the talent that write for our our newsletter are great. And keep your eye on. There's a lot of new stuff coming out. David has led us to a lot. We're always innovating. We're always thinking outside the box. We're always thinking about what's the next best thing for you, not for us. And
And if you want a taste of the content, check out the blog that Joel started on our website, j-washington.com. A lot of the material that you're going to see in the newsletter, you may see in the blog, and you may see some things that are not in the newsletter that is in the blog. So please, we've got content always coming out, fresh content. We want to stimulate the conversation. We'd love to hear from you. I enjoy commenting. Sometimes get a little snarky. It is what it is, right? However, I on the suggestion of one of our commenters, I went to Missouri. And I didn't get a chance to go. I drove through St. Louis. I did not stop, but
well, my brother lives close to there, so if you need anybody to do it on the spot,
I think we should go.
I'll get my brother to go over there and do some commentating for us.
I enjoyed the drive to St. Louis. It was nice to be back in St. Louis. It's been a long time, and I love to go back to St. Louis and have that conversation about gun violence
Never
and
been there.
invite.
Never been there. Still alive. No, no, it's too much fun.
But please check out
Please.
our content, the blog on our website, subscribe to our newsletter, The Informer, and please subscribe to our channel, the Jay and Washington Network. We are your political innovators. We're out.